A healer is as valid as a tank, dude. Oh, when did that happen? See, I must have missed the memo because I don't keep up with DC like that. So I'm trying to figure out when this happened. A healer is as valid as a tank. Since when? I want to know, like, is there like a group of people who they have, it's like a secret society of DC Universe Online players who just decide that a healer takes the place of a tank? Who decided that? Who made him the HBIC that he just decides a healer is as valid as a tank? Like, who's the head nigga in charge around here that just has decided as a collective this is just the way it is in the game now? We don't need a tank. We can just use a healer as a tank. From my oh my god, this is so stupid to me because as a gamer, in any no matter what game you play, the healer is always the person you're supposed to be protecting from being hit and killed. You know, why would you want your medic? Why would you want your healer? Why would you want your life support in the face of danger like that? Why would you want that? The healer is supposed to be safe so that they can heal. Why the fuck would the healer be in the boss's face getting knocked around? Like, are y'all okay? I'm starting to just come to the conclusion that a lot of y'all don't play video games. Y'all just play DC Universe Online. I'm starting to think that's what's happening here. So I'm trying to figure out in what video games are y'all playing that y'all healers are acting as tanks. When you play Smite, Aphrodite is a healer, but she's also squishy. Now that bitch be fighting, don't get me wrong, but we need you to get out of there. Aphrodite is not Odin. Aphrodite don't got no business jumping out like a tank, like Odin. Girl, what are you doing? You're not a tank. You're not Odin. We need Aphrodite to be back throwing out a little heel, attaching, throw a little kiss, bounce them big ass titties around and help us out. Like, girl, we don't need you out here. You not Odin. You not Thor. We don't need you flying through the sky. I like DC, but the people are ruining this game. I think that the game is trying, but it's really hard because of the people. The community is ruining the game because you have people saying shit like a healer is as valid as a tank. And then he says, I know my way around elite. A solid healer is as good as a tank. No one cares that you know your way around elite. At this point, we all do. So you saying you know your way around elite does not make you look bad. We don't care, dude. Y'all want to seem so important so bad. Y'all want to seem so superior and so elite and so much better than everybody. I don't know what is that. Anyway, trust me, with smart fighting and the right adaptive augments leveled up, elites can be crushed even without a tank. Now, I want to know who over at DC Universe Online hired him as the spokesperson because I don't know why he's talking like that. I don't know why he's talking like the spokesperson for DC Universe Online. It's like a pep talk. Trust me, with smart fighting skills and the right adaptive augments leveled up, elites can be crushed even without a tank. Is this the beginning of us not needing support roles anymore? Who hired him to say that? Like, was that supposed to inspire us to run a fucking elite alert without a tank? It wasn't. It wasn't inspiring. It actually inspired the group to leave. That's all it did. And then here I go with my little 2 cents. That's what's wrong with this game now. Motherfuckers think that a healer is a tank and elite content at that. No respect for support roles anymore. Everybody can just do everything. No one plays support. No one plays support. In Elite Plus, don't run support. Everybody just throw away all of your support gear. We don't need it no more. We don't need no tanks. We don't need no trolls. All we need is a healer with tank gear on, and we'll be fine. What happens in a game like DC Universe Online when no roles are necessary? What happens when we don't need a healer? What happens when we don't need a tank? What happens when we don't need a troll? Do they just take out all of the healer gear? Do they revamp the entire game so that, you're not able to switch from healer to DPS or from DPS to tank? Should they just do that on DC now? You queue up an instance, right? You can get away with not having a tank, you know, depending on like how old the content is. Maybe you could get away without a healer if the tank is strong enough. Sometimes you can kind of wing it, right? When it's elite and or elite plus content, everybody kind of clinch up a little bit. Like we're a little bit clinched. You clinch in elite. You clinch even harder in elite plus. What happens when The DC community as a whole turns into people who think that they don't need support roles. Now we don't need a healer because the trolls can heal. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the direction that DC is trying to take, because maybe, just maybe, there aren't enough healers. Maybe there aren't enough support roles, because when you queue something up, you tend to have to wait a while because there aren't a lot of tanks or healers or trolls. And so whenever you queue something in, you're more likely to get a DPS rather than a support role, because a lot of people aren't playing support roles. So maybe that's it. Maybe DC is trying to make it so that every role can do a little bit of something, so that it's not so impossible to get through content, without those support roles. So maybe that's it. But let's say that's not it. Okay. So what do we do now when we have people joining into instances, especially if it's elite? You can get away with running regular content without a healer, troll, whatever. But in elite, you got to tighten the fuck up. In elite plus, you need to tighten the fuck up. Like, we not in here for you to just not be holding block. We need you to do the mechanics. Everybody need to have it. By the time you get to Elite Plus content, you should have all of your Elite gear, all of the R&D gear. Your artifacts should be at 200. Your allies should all be at 10. Like, by the time you get to E Plus, you should be well rounded and grounded. Okay, there's no excuse. You've had enough time and you've run elite a million times enough for you to be like, you should be ready. But what happens when we get people in the group that are of a support role and they're trying to convince the rest of the group that we don't need a healer, we don't need a tank, we don't need a troll? And I think that people don't quite understand that if you don't have a tank, everybody is a target. Everybody's going to be targeted. And as far as the DPS go, they are not equipped to be able to take like hits like that, regardless to whether they have a healer or troll shielding them. I mean, it's just kind of the way the game is. It's ordained. Like, you're not really supposed to be surviving like that, because that's not how the game is set up anyway. You're not supposed to be surviving getting hit by a boss over and over again, because that's what a tank is for. And so a DPS not surviving being hit by an elite boss, it's like, okay, well, we ain't mad at you, because you really ain't supposed to be getting hit like that anyway. It's very interesting to watch, though. We don't need a healer. We don't need a troll. We don't need a tank. Y'all can have this shit. Y'all can have that. Y'all want to be able to do everything solo. Everything is solo. At this point, just bring split screen back. Just get on the game with you and one other person. Just split screen. Unless DC themselves change the game, y'all are not about to gaslight me into believing that I can run Elite and Elite Plus content without a tank or without a healer. Like, y'all are not, I'm not falling for it. We don't need a healer. Please. I'm done listening. That's how things get normalized. That's how bullshit gets normalized. If enough people say it, then it'll just become normal. If enough people say it, then we just eventually, it's like, oh yeah, well, we don't need a healer. We don't need a troll. It just will become the norm. In order to make something the norm, all we need is enough people to agree. That's it. In order to elect an idiot as the head chief in charge, we just need enough idiots to vote yes. That's it. Anybody that wants to be a leader, they don't have to be a leader. They just need enough people. All they need is enough votes. In order to change that about DC Universe Online, all we would need is for enough people to say, yeah, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We don't need a healer. We don't need a healer. See, I think that's how a lot of bullshit laws get put into place, because all we need is enough people to agree to it. Instead of people saying, fuck that, we're not doing that. No. It's not enough people saying no. It's not enough people calling bullshit. Just like on DC, it's not enough people calling bullshit. It's not enough people telling that person right there that that's bullshit that he's talking about. Instead, they're agreeing with him. So eventually it'll turn into, yeah, he's right. We don't need a healer. And then all of a sudden now, there aren't any healers when we need them. They started that shit. And so now we're stuck with it that we don't need a healer. Nip it in the bud. Y'all need to learn how to stop people in their tracks. Like, no, no, stop it. Cut it out. If someone's telling you saying some bullshit, that's the thing. Ain't none of y'all speaking up. Y'all are not speaking up. And so the idiots are taking over. Speak up. Say something. Tell them that they're wrong. Tell them that you don't agree. It's too many idiots trying to run the show. And that's why the show sucks. The show sucks because it's too many idiots just talking, just spreading their idiocracy. They're just spreading their stupidity. And then you guys who are not being opposed to the stupidity, it's you're making it worse. You're helping it. Y'all got to stop letting stuff slide. Say something. Speak up. Speak up. Like, ain't nobody got no backbone. That's so crazy to me how no one's gonna say anything. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing. Ain't nobody got no opinion. Like, yeah, we're not doing that. Nobody gonna say nothing. Everybody's just gonna follow behind this person saying, "Hey, we don't need a tank. We'll just let the healer tank." And then y'all are just like, "Okay, what? Y'all don't let women get away with nothing. A woman can't say anything. Y'all ready to tell her shut up and go to the kitchen, make a sandwich, go get pregnant or some shit like that." But when a guy says some dumb shit, it's like, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll just follow behind. Why no? Why y'all ain't saying nothing? That is so crazy to me. Y'all, it's such it's weird. It's weird.